I'm Myra. And I'm Danica, and this is Black Women Healing Podcast. And on this podcast, you can join us every Monday where we have raw, relatable conversations about mental wellness. And we push you to do the work. Let's heal. This is Black Women Healing Podcast.
Hello, everyone. We're back with another episode of Black Women Healing Podcast. And today we have yet another special guest. But before we introduce our special guest, we're going to start with, we usually start with a Black Women Healing quote, and then we kind of reflect on it. But I think it's time for something new. So I was kind of brainstorming, like, what could we do as kind of like an icebreaker? And I thought of like this or that situation. So I'm just going to, this or that is literally like one thing or the other. And then we're going to talk about which one we prefer. That's pretty much it. It just gets us warmed up before we get into it. So this or that, this is something I'm thinking about. Would you prefer a comedy show, or would you prefer like a drama show? Comedy or drama? Comedy or drama, yeah. So what do you think, Myra?
I don't really watch dramas actually, so it probably would be comedy. I don't know. I think it depends on the place in life too, because now that I'm thinking about it, like as a kid, everything was comedy, like all that, like Zoe 101, like it was corny comedy, but it was technically comedy. But now I don't like comedy that's so in your face though either. Right, like I don't sit and watch like my family loves the Upshaws, and that's a comedy show. But when I sit and watch it, I'm like, I'm not into this like that.
What?
I like the comedy that's not in your face, because when it's so in your face, I'm like, ugh. Like it doesn't do it for me. So I would say comedy with a sprinkle of drama, but all drama, no, not for me. What about you, Danica?
It depends on like you're saying, like the day and how I'm feeling. The Upshaws, like I love that show, and I do feel like they try, they have a storyline, but for sure you're not going to be able to watch past probably like 5 minutes without laughing. You might can get 2 minutes of a serious moment, but you're gonna laugh. It's gonna turn into it. So, but like it just depends on the day. But then I'm thinking of like a Grey's Anatomy type of show, and I think that's a drama, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. And I have binged that show, like where I'm watching it, yes, every day. I think I'll do the last 2 seasons. I don't think I've watched, just because like it's like 20 seasons. I'm like, I forgot who these people were. How did they get here? I don't even remember anymore. So I gotta go back at least to like season 10 or something, because I don't remember. But that is a drama, and it just depends on. I will binge that though.
I never would have thought that. So what other dramas do you watch? Because this is mind blowing to me.
I mean, I've watched like the Scandal. I feel like Scandal's a little
You're
bit.
a Shonda Rhimes person. You're into Shonda Land.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Makes sense.
I'm trying to think of other dramas though that are not necessarily on that realm. Um, what's that one show called? Where it's like the white family, and it was all these different kids, and it's a lot go. It's on the.
And it's two versions of them. One is in the UK.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I
What's
do
it
love
called?
Shameless.
Shameless. That's a drama technically, but it's like it's one of those. Exactly. I was just gonna say that. Like those types of, I don't think it needs to be like straight like drama, but like I like that too. Like it's a deeper storyline. What about you, Destiny?
Right now in this season, I'm definitely in my comedy bag. I've just been on like I've been a fool lately. I've just been a whole fool. I've been a whole mess. And so I've been more into like just wanting to laugh, like wanting to just like not be so deep. But ask me this question like 2 months ago, it would have been drama hands down. I'm always in like like, anything that has to do with like understanding people and like being able to like stories and anything that has to do with like deep emotion and all of those things. That's where you normally find me. But right now, comedy, hands down.
So what are you watching?
Anything that comes on. Like I I don't even really watch TV off. So if I do watch TV or anything like that, um, anything on Netflix. So nothing that is like popping up as like a name right now. But if I'm
Yeah.
looking, I'm going to the comedy section and just pulling up something that's funny. I watched what's it called? I think Five Guys. Oh, Five Guys, something guys the other
Okay.
day. Um, Oh, I don't even know what it's called. Hilarious. And it's like the almost like witty hilarious. So like and like real
Mm-hmm.
stupid. It shouldn't be as funny as it is, where you almost feel bad that you laughing. And you like, am I as funny as it is right now? That's the comedy I've been in.
Nice. Okay. Have y'all seen The First Wives Club? I love that show. It's on Netflix.
Love it. 10 out of 10.
I think that's a comedy
Recommend.
meets drama.
It is. It is. Exactly. It's more, I would say it's definitely more drama though. Like I think of those, yeah, you're going to get more than 2 minutes of like serious, like real life stuff. But yeah, no, that's a good one.
Such a good
Yeah.
show. Yeah, well, thank y'all for sharing. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest. As you hear, her name is Destiny, and Destiny Muse combines a bachelor's in psychology with a minor in communications, focusing on emotional intelligence and its profound impact on human behavior. With over a decade of dedicated study encompassing academic learning, self-study, and practical application, she has developed a deep understanding of the human condition. Her journey extends beyond theory, having personally applied her knowledge to overcome trauma and forge a life of meaning and purpose. As a seasoned guide who has served several dozen clients and gathered hundreds of people, Destiny excels in helping individuals alchemize their experience for personal benefit. Her approach is rooted in authenticity, shaped by her own transformative journey and commitment to continual learning. Destiny doesn't just teach, she empowers, leading with empathy, insight, and a steadfast belief in each individual's potential for profound change. So, as y'all can hear, we could go so many different routes in our discussion today with Destiny, but we are going to focus on rewriting your narrative. And so, to even get us started, Destiny, what are your thoughts on the healing journey? When I made this question, I was thinking about how the words healing, trauma, and trigger are so talked about. And I feel like they're words that we should be using, but oftentimes we are not using them in a way that makes sense for us, right? I don't want to say in a way that doesn't make sense, but in a way that makes sense for us. And so to get us started, what are your thoughts on the healing journey, being that it's so commonly used, that phrase?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I the healing journey, um my beliefs on it and my perception of it has changed so much over the last like 7 years. I really began my quote on journey in like 2016. That's when I just became like consciously aware that I had wounds that were still there, that um I didn't love myself in the way that I thought that I did, that I was disconnected from my reality in a lot of ways. And so that's when I began to dive into that before even having the language of what I feel like right now everything's super commercialized, everything's talked about, everything's on in so many different ways. So this was before all of that. I was isolated by myself doing the work before I had any terminology to put to it. So it's always so interesting when people bring up healing, because I like to stay away from using it at this stage of my journey. Because what I found out is that when I first entered into it very strong, very heavy, I was hiding my own self hatred behind the process of healing. It wasn't that I was healing; it's that I was trying to fix myself, and so I was calling it healing. People were communicating that it was healing, but also at the same time, I was in this perpetual cycle of trying to fix who I was instead of learning how to accept who I am. And so I'm really big now on moving versus focusing so hard and heavy on we have to heal, we have to heal our trauma. I don't think you heal trauma. I think you accept and you learn to navigate, you learn to maneuver, you learn to address trauma. Our trauma, they're things that imprint on us. They're things that become a part of who we are, and we get to decide how they become a part of who we are. And so I'm really big on like leaning less on healing journey and leaning more on the journey of acceptance. How can we accept? Because when you accept, you relax. You relax into your body. You relax into the authenticity of your experience. You relax and you allow the process. The healing process isn't ours. The healing process doesn't belong to us, you know, regardless you call it higher power, however you are connected to whatever, however you want to identify. The healing power doesn't belong to us. And so our job to accept, to address, and to respond accordingly.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah. Um, absolutely. The acceptance. I love that. I love that word in general. Just because I do feel like at the basis of our healing, like you just said, is acceptance. And I love that you're not saying just like, oh, just accept, sit there, like, oh, nothing. Now that I know this, it's like innately once you start accepting, like, then you will address, right? You will have the awareness to even pay attention to what's happening in general. So I love that. um so what are your thoughts on the different spaces in which one can heal, um and what have been the ones in which you have found the most powerful?
Yeah. So there's so many different spaces that one can find healing. One can engage in the process of healing. And I really believe that healing comes through experience and it comes through living life. It comes through throwing yourself into this human experience in a very radical way and allowing yourself to adapt. One thing that I love about humans, one thing that I love about us is that we're so adaptable, and adaptation is a part of that healing process. It's a part of that healing journey. And you only adapt by being thrown into the environment. Adaptation comes by being within an environment. And so for me, on my journey of really getting to where I'm currently at in my life, going from somebody who was an alcoholic, was on drugs. I was blacked out drunk pretty much 3-4 days a week, overworked, disconnected from myself, um, struggling to stay alive, wanting to not be here for several years several at points of my life and in my journey, to now being somebody who loves life. I love life. I love living. I love being here on earth. I'm so glad that I chose to keep going in those days. I'm so glad that like I was rescued in those days. And so having come from that place, 2015 to now 2024, almost 10 years later, completely different person, 100% completely different person in the way that I embody this lived experience. What I learned is that the true healing came with the accountability. It came with being honest with myself almost 10 years ago to say, like, babe, this is where you're at. This is the truth of what's actually going on. Are you okay with that? And so radical accountability, looking at your shit and being real with yourself about what you see, radical acceptance, accepting what you see, and then radical self love, loving yourself so deeply, even when you're still in the mess. Loving yourself in the same way you show compassion to others, the same way that you show up for others when they're in their difficulties of life. If you combine those three things, you really push yourself forward on this path, on this journey of life, and you begin to grow in your resilience, to be able to grow in your adaptability. Because once you can start to accept those things in yourself, you also can start to accept, hold accountable, and love those things in the world as well. So you're no longer moving through life expecting it to be anything but what life is. And life is crazy sometimes. Sometimes life is crazy. And it takes you on your ass. When those moments happen, you be like, okay, I'm on my ass right now. Let me be here. Let me be where I am and love myself regardless. And so I feel like that is like the sum of the quote unquote healing journey, is being able to be so present, so here, and so now, and love every single moment of it.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. Life will walk you like a dog, like literally dragging you. But you know, we're here. I'm being dragged right now. It's okay.
How can I
I'm gonna get
pray
up.
for that? Yeah. What do I need to do? How can
Oh,
I nurture myself through it? How can I love myself through this part? Like, I'm here. I'm here. You know? Yeah.
definitely. Something I was thinking about though, and thinking of these different spaces is the people around us and our environments, right? So like, do you think that you can still get to like this radical accountability, acceptance, and self-love with certain type of people or being in certain type of environments?
No. Child. That's you. Yeah, you are 100% spot on that. Your community is everything, and it's important on both sides of the spectrum. It's important on the side of the spectrum where if you remain in certain environments around certain people who are harmful, regardless of if their intention is to be harmful or not. But like a lot of times, especially those that are empathetic, those that are lovers, those that are givers, we make excuses for people's poor behaviors because we know where they're coming from, because we can resonate, because we can relate, because we didn't want to be abandoned when we were in like the worst of our positions. That we give people passes to harm us. But if you're constantly in spaces that are harming you, you're being harmed. And so you're being damaged. And those things really do have an effect on your psyche. They have an effect on your physical body. And if you're in the wrong environments, you would truly begin to like deteriorate. And if you're not paying attention, you won't even know that it's happening, that you'll get so comfortable in it that you stay in it and you don't even know that you're hurting. There's a lot of times when I'm working with people and they truly believe that they're happy, but they've never even experienced happiness to know that they're not, because they've been in the chaos, they've been in the darkness for that they've made home there. And so they connect with someone that hears them, they connect with somebody that feels their heart, they're connected, not judging, and they're like, what is this? Because you've adapted, like we talked about earlier, you've adapted to your environment. Versus also on the complete opposite side of that, get you some people that love you. Get you some people that care about you. Love. We throw around love all the time, and we got it so twisted. People use love to kill. People use love to harm. People die by love in some of the most twisted of ways. Get you somebody that cares about you. Surround yourself with people that want to see you doing well. Surround yourself by people who care if you're sad, who care if you're hungry, who care if you're afraid, that are, and even if they don't have the ability to even do anything in those moments, simply having someone to care for you changes everything, because it impacts the way that you then see yourself. And there is a portion of the journey that you got to walk alone, but then you come to the light that we're supposed to walk this journey together. We're community. We're community beings. We're communal beings, and we're meant to do this life in togetherness. There's so much about where I'm at now. Like, this is the most beautiful season of my life, where I'm surrounded by love in every direction. I have sisterhood, true sisterhood, in a way. I'm like, wow, this is the sweetest. I have a partner who loves and tends and cares for me so deeply. I have mentors who see me and are like willingly reaching down to pull me up. And in being loved so deeply, I'm still evolving. I'm still learning to receive it. I'm still going even deeper into the depths of my value, having to remind myself even still today, you deserve this. You deserve this. And so community will teach you so much and give you so much, or take so much. And so you got to really choose your circle. And I know it's hard. It's hard to walk away from like spaces and relationships, especially if you're comfortable, but you're really not comfortable. And so I know it's scary because you don't always know what's on the other side. But I promise you, it's something more sweet and something so much better than the environment you're currently in.
Yes, I love that too. I love that for you that you are in this season. I love that you're saying it out loud. I think sometimes we feel like we can't say it out loud. Like, no, yes, you have a lot of beautiful things happening for you right now, and you should be able to talk about it. And so, thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
Specifically for the journey of motherhood and aging as a woman in
Mhm.
general, what tools have you found to be most helpful in not only others, but also yourself in engaging in self love, healing, and learning one more about oneself?
Mamahood, the journey of being a mama. That thing will do a thing to you. That thing will do a thing. Oh, I love my baby. So, I myself am a mother of a beautiful 12-year-old who is, oh, she's beautiful. She is, she is, she is a personification of my inner child that was free. So
Mm.
I get to witness through her existence and heal so much of my own little girl by watching her be free, by watching her have a voice, by watching her be confident, by watching her have boundaries, by watching her like show. Girl, when you meet my baby girl, you're gonna be like, okay, I see what you're talking about. I see what you're talking about. She's so special. She's so special. And being her mom has, I always say that I am the woman that I am today because I am her mother. Being a mother is what taught me so much about how to tend to society, about how to tend to humanity at large. My depth of compassion, my depth of empathy, my patience, my depth of understanding comes from the traits that I cultivated in learning how to love my little girl. And I had to learn how to do those things. And so when I'm talking to mamas, and especially mamas who are being hard on themselves because the journey is hard and we make mistakes, we're not perfect. I remember when baby girl was probably about 4 or 5. This was when I was overworked and just like struggling my own life, my own experience. She did something that didn't warrant the response at all, because there's nothing that a child can do to warrant the response. But I like flipped out and just like started like yelling and screaming, and I watched her poor little heart break. And I fell to my knees and I just started crying. And I'm like, I broke her, I broke her. And I'm like holding and I'm like rocking. And at that point, I knew like I had to do the work so that I could show up for her in the way that she needed me. That I had to work on breaking those generational curses. That I had to be the one to do something different. That I couldn't continue what was done to me to her because she didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve that. And so from that point forward, I worked on tending to that. I worked on healing that. I worked on restoring that. I worked on nurturing that. And now that's my ace. We locked in. We locked in. Our relationship is real unique. And people be like, wait, what's going on with y'all? I'm like, don't worry about it. Okay. Okay. What we got going on is good. What we got going on is so good. But in regards to like now the aging that comes with that, the realization that time don't stop when you have a little that you are watching change, especially when they get to like that middle school, that like fifth to sixth grade. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Something interesting go on, and things just start changing quick. You now go from having a child that's like dependent on you in a lot of ways to a child that's now establishing their independence. And you like, hold on a second, hold on. And it makes you question so much about your own self, and you have to like hold a mirror up to you to see what area in yourselves need to be released as you learn to release your child. And then you realize that time is a real thing and time is going to keep going. And in those moments, it can be incredibly scary. It can be incredibly scary. So, what do we do? What do we do as we evolve into motherhood and things continue to change, I always come back to my breath. I always come back to the present. I always come back to the now. And I remember to savor this moment, because just like all of those years have already passed, this moment is gonna pass as well. And so I stay rooted here. I stay rooted in the reality of what's currently happening, so that I don't have to have the anxieties of what's coming in the future. I don't have to have the anxieties of what's been in the past. And I come right back to my breath. I come and I be here. I be here. I see her for where she's at. I see me for where I'm at. And I give gratitude. I give gratitude. I give gratitude. I give gratitude. And then I keep it pushing.
That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So how does she like the cards? Since I couldn't get a video, how
Girl,
does she like? I need to
girl.
know.
Okay, no, I think we're going to get a video. I started up yesterday. I said, oh, you want to do a video now? Okay, now you want to do a video. Well, she did.
Changing every day, every moment.
Right? They be changing. They be switching up. She be switching up. So I think we go. She said, okay, we can do it tomorrow.
Okay.
I was watching movies. She was spoiled all weekend. And so she kind of brought it up. We was watching movies. And she was like, you still got to do those cards? I said, yeah, I got a whole podcast with them tomorrow. Thank you very much. And so I think we get one today, but she's so interesting. So I mentioned this before, but the thing that has been so interesting about raising an autonomous being, raising a free being, raising a child who can have boundaries, even with me, boundaries that I respect, raising a
Yes.
child that can tell me anything. Our trust is that's it. That's all I wanted. I wanted my baby girl to trust me. I wanted her to know that she come to me with whatever she wanted to come to me with, and also know that she can also keep things for herself. That she doesn't have to come to me with everything. That you get to decide, and that's what I wanted. And so, I'm in this. I'm settling into it, but I had this moment where I was like, "Oh, what did I create? What did I create? What did I contribute to?" Because I don't know. I don't have an example of a free child. I don't have an example of an autonomous child. I don't have an example of a child that can say no. I don't know what that produces. And so there have been so many moments where she will respond to something in a way that I'm like, ooh, I don't know, but I gotta trust you, because I gave you what I could give you. I gave you the values. I taught you how to love yourself. I taught you how to prioritize yourself. I taught you how not to settle. I taught you how not to just let people treat you any type of way. I taught you how to honor how you're feeling. I taught you how to communicate. And so now I have to sit back and I have to watch what you do with those tools that I gave you. And so it's so interesting, because when those moments come up, all she's doing is holding a mirror to me in areas where I'm not showing up for myself, in areas where I'm not holding firm in my boundaries. And so now she's always been a teacher, always has been a teacher for me in so many beautiful ways. But in this season, she's becoming so much more of a teacher in ways that she doesn't even know, because now she is reflecting. She's finally in a space where she's reflecting back to me everything that I taught her. And so there's some things that I taught her that I haven't fully embodied within myself yet. And so I have to sit with me before I respond to her, because I'm like, these are coming from, I've been very intentional with the way that I have raised her. I've been very intentional with the way that I have poured into her. And so now I'm having to see what that means. What does the result of that look like? And so it's been a doozy. I've been like, this is interesting.
But you're making me think about the idea that you're actually raising an adult, right? Like, I feel like a lot of times when I'm in conversation with people and I think about just like, siblings and like family members, how some people raise a kid and some people raise an adult. And what I mean by that is, like, we have to give our kids the tools to say, this is how I'm feeling. Like, I'm really big with my daughter. Like, you need to tell me what you got going on. So she's really big on, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm all right, like give me a second. You need to be able to identify those things, because I come across so many adults that can't even identify their emotions. Like they literally don't know. And we'll have a conversation. They'll say, I've never even felt happiness. I've never even felt sadness. I've never even felt grief. And then I talk with them and I'm like, by textbook you have, but you don't know because you've never been given the language. And so even hearing you talk about her having boundaries and saying no, she's given the language that she needs as a human overall, but as an adult. Because when adults are not taught how to say no and how to hold firm to boundaries, it's so much harder to learn it as an adult. Whereas if you were primed to learn that as a child, it comes easy to you in a second nature. And then when they come across people, the people are like, oh, this is different. Yeah, this.
Yep, yep, exactly. The other day, I heard her on the phone, and about saying something, and then she was like, "You have to trust me." And then the friend was like, not really trusting her, and then she was like, you have to trust me." And then she said something. She said, "Why would I be friends with someone who doesn't trust me? Why would I do that?" And I'm like, "Okay,
Makes sense to me.
you right." And then the other day, girl. So then the other day we got into it about. She had an emotional reaction, learning how to regulate her emotions still, right? The big emotions when they come heavy. Learning how to regulate them. And so, this one is hilarious. So we're sitting in the car, and she was eating, but she accidentally spilled some on one of her favorite pans, and so she kind of like freaks out, like because of her favorite pants, and it turned into like the end of the world. And this girl done threw the bowl of cereal, and so I reacted, and I'm like, I my child, don't, I don't do that. This was one of those moments where I messed up, and it was just like a woo. It was like a woo, one of those things. And then I'm like yelling at her, telling her she needs to learn how to regulate her emotions. She said, "You're doing a good job." Let me get myself together real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm here to teach you. I'm here to teach you how to regulate in moments when this was overwhelming for you. The response not correct. We're gonna do better. But that's my job to teach you those things.
Mm-hmm.
That's on me. It's not on you. You don't know yet. And I have to constantly remind myself of that. You don't know yet. And as I do that, what I've been like affirming to myself. So right now we're working on so she's an advocate for justice. Like if things ain't fair, she doesn't always necessarily handle it appropriately. But I'm also like, but I love that about you. I love that about you. I love that you stand up for yourself. I love that you advocate for yourself. I love that you advocate for others. I love that you don't. I'd rather be on this side of the spectrum than on the other side of the spectrum where you're letting people walk all over you, where your voice is silenced, where you're having people take things and manipulate, and that's a lot more difficult to manage and navigate. And so now we're in this space of like recalibrating, fine tuning these tools, fine tuning the things, the gifts that she's been given to become as an adult. And the thing that I just always remind myself through this process is that, like, I know without a shadow of a doubt that either I'm going to teach her, the world is going to teach her, or she is going to learn. I can trust that. I can trust that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can trust that if the world teaches her, she'll come to me. She'll come to me for when sometimes the world don't teach you in the kindest of ways, but she'll come to me to be nurtured, to be taken care of in those moments. I know that in the moments when I teach her, she'll be prepared. And I know that in the moments where she goes and figures out and learns for herself, that she'll choose in truth and authenticity who she wants to be. And so I just stay there. So then that way I'm not rushing her journey. I'm not expecting her to be somewhere that doesn't make sense for her to be at 12 years old. You know, I'm being with her once again in the present, knowing that she is so fine. She's so okay that it doesn't matter, right? She's okay even with the things, because we all have them. And so I've been like really sitting with that recently, and also sitting like, I'm like, okay, 6 more years until she's out of like primary school. In the context, that's not a long time. That's not a long time at all. And so I've just been like in the decision making, in like what we're gonna do, what we're not gonna do, and the plans. I'm like, okay, I have to think now about who she's going to be as an adult. The choices that we're making now are about what is she going to want to do when she graduates, and how are the choices that we're making today impacting her ability to do that. It's a whole nother like quantum analyzation going on at this stage. And it's beautiful. Yeah. It's really beautiful.
That sounds beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And as we wrap up, I want to, give the listeners a resource. And so tell us about your REbirth toolkit and how others can find out more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have developed a REbirth toolkit. And the toolkit is essentially everything that I learned, everything that I needed when I was in the process of really just rewriting my narrative and deciding for myself who I wanted to be. A lot of times we are prescribed who we should be by society, by education, by our families, by media. So many messages are constantly being projected onto us on who we should be, how we should act, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. I grew up in the religious context, so I grew up Christian for many, many, many years. And that aided in a lot of who I was as well. And so I got to a point in my life where I had everything that I thought that I was supposed to want, everything that I thought that I was supposed to have, but I was miserable. I was disconnected from myself. I felt like an outsider. I just felt like an intruder in my own reality. And so I began to really go deep and began to really walk the path, that sacred path of becoming, that sacred path to self, so that I could rebirth and that I could become who I wanted to be. I could rebirth, I can transform, I can alchemize the experiences so that I can write my story how I want it to be written. And that journey, oh my goodness, that journey's hard, y'all. That journey is so hard. And so I created the REbirth toolkit for those that are in. You can really be at any stage of the journey, but it starts from the beginning. So it starts with the Catalyst of Self, which is an audio ebook. And this audio ebook, I would say this is for someone who is like considering the journey. Even if you're in the journey, it's a good read because it gives a lot of language. It's a 40-minute listen if you listen to the audio. So it's a quick read, different stages of the rebirth process, which is the awakening phase, which is the first phase, that's the aha moment that, things aren't what I think they are. Then you have the middle passage. That is when you know that things aren't what they are, but they're not quite what you want them to be either. You're kind of in limbo a little bit. Then you have the integration phase. This is where you take everything that you learned in the previous two phases, you begin to integrate them into who you want to be. This is a lot of trial and error, a lot of I do want this, I don't want that. This is where a lot of things go, a lot of things leave, a lot of things come. This is really like a major defining aspect of the journey. And then you have the self-mastery phase. The self-mastery phase is when you get to a point of understanding. This is not about getting to a point of perfection. It's about getting to a point of understanding of who you are, understanding your triggers, understanding your flaws, understanding your strengths, understanding how to recognize blind spots, understanding that you have blind spots. The self-mastery is just really about having a deep level of understanding of where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. And so the Rebirth Toolkit addresses all four of those stages in every single aspect. But with the Catalyst of Self ebook, that one just really breaks down what the path looks like. So this isn't really like, it's just like, okay, if you're going to go on this journey, this is what it looks like. These are the things to expect. This is the challenges. These are some of the roadblocks you may or may not come across. These are some of the signposts you may or may not see. These are some of the people that you may or may not run into, right? And so that one is just like a really, really storytelling, really easy listen. And so I say start there. And then the second part of that is the Rebirth Blueprint. So the Rebirth Blueprint takes all of the things that are covered in the Catalyst of Self ebook, but it breaks each one of them down. So it goes into the psychology of each phase. It goes into the emotions of each phase. It goes into the mindset of each phase. And it really just, it's all about the entire toolkit is about all about giving you language. You're already experiencing it. But the issue is we don't have language. And so if you don't have language, you can't directly connect with it so that you have power over it. If you cannot identify it, it's controlling you. But as soon as you can identify it, you can put a name to it, you can maneuver. So the Rebirth Blueprint dives all the way into that. Included in the Rebirth Blueprint, a quiz that you can take, an assessment that you can take as well after you go through it. And then the assessment will let you know where you're at, where you're likely at in the journey, so you know where to hyper focus. There's journaling prompts, all different types of things. That's like the meat. That's where you want to go for like the meat of the things. And then that's the toolkit. And then there's also a rewrite your narrative course as well, but that's separate from the toolkit. But the toolkit, 100% like free. I feel like these resources should be available to everybody. These are resources that I don't think should be gatekept because they're resources that get you to the point where you can even get to the point of freedom. Like that shit don't make no sense to me. People be like gatekeeping freedom. Neither here nor there. Things do need to be monetized. So this is not a give your life away for free message. That's not what I'm saying. Now, don't get me wrong. However, there are some things that I'm like, okay, come on. There's just a certain level of freedom that should be accessible to every single person, regardless. And you can access that human being, the toolkit, the Rebirth Toolkit in the Human Being Portal. Human Being Portal is a community group and a community space that I've cultivated. And all of the resources are in there. That's also where you can find the course. We also do bi-weekly sacred conversation meetings. There's a whole bunch of different things that take place in the portal. And you can connect on that at www.destinythemuse.com. And everything can be found on there. Getting inside the portal is 100% free. And once you get in there, you'll get the resources. And then there's other ways to connect and stuff that do have some monetization towards it. But I swear by the resource. I know biased opinion because I created it, but I don't swear by everything that I create in the way that I swear by this one. And so definitely if you're on your awakening journey, your journey to self, your journey to becoming, I would tap into that and see what it has to offer you.
Yeah, no, I think this episode has been amazing. I feel like there's so many takeaways, but I would say for sure the takeaway is to check out Destiny's Rebirth Toolkit and also all the resources that Destiny has on her page. All this stuff is going to be in our description. So don't you all worry. All you have to do is click the links, click, and you'll get there. Do not miss out on these free resources. Yeah, Destiny, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. It's been amazing. I appreciate you meeting with us. Yeah, and we thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a great conversation. And yeah, I look forward to many more, and just to continue to see the growth and to see where this goes for y'all as well. And so thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.